Hey, and thanks for clicking on Hey, MelissaCrochets. I appreciate you. I have a 4-day-ish market starting tonight until Sunday. Today's Thursday. I say 4-day-ish because tonight is a separate one. It's in a small town. I've done it before with my old sewing business, and I thought, I'm going to sign up again just to see how it goes with little plushies. So tonight I get an 8-foot table, and that's it. I don't have any extra space, but that's okay because my plushies will definitely fit on an 8-foot table. And then after that, I have to go into the city. Well, not tonight, but tomorrow morning I have to go, I have to drop Larry off at daycare for the weekend. And then I have to go to the city and get set up for a 3-day market. I have decided to get an Airbnb. The city's only 40 minutes away, but we're in the middle of a snowstorm and it's really unpredictable. So I figured I'd rather be safe and sound than have to be anxious about driving back and forth. It kind of sucks because, budget and stuff. I'd rather have my life than not. So I figured I would take you along for my markets and the weekend and stuff and, just do like a little vlog style type of thing like I did for the Niagara market in the summer. Something I did last night, which you're going to see next, is I went through all of my plushie bags just to get things organized. So I wanted to organize them, by pattern / type of animal, and then in separate little bags I put like all the $5 items. Another bag I put all the turtles. Another bag I put all the $10 items, and then the misfit toys and stuff like that. We're gonna do that next, and then when I get to the event tonight, as long as it doesn't get canceled because of the storm, I will show you that setup, and then, then we'll continue the weekend together. This weekend I have a 3-day market. And I'm taking all of the little plushies that I have. They told me I would either have a 10x10 space or a 12x8, bring in anything I want and fill it, as long as it's my items and I've made it. So I plan on taking the 15 sweaters I had left over from a big sweater market this year. Some double palm beanies, whatever I have. I think I have 5 right now. And then all the plushies. And then my husband last night was like, so how many plushies do you have to take? And I'm like, I have no idea because I haven't counted my inventory in so long. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna add that to this video. So right now we're just gonna go over my inventory. I have a nice little sticky notepad thing I have. And I just wanna write down, how many of each item, and I'll tell you how much I sell them for. I'm not going to put all the thumbnails up because honestly, that's just gonna be too much work while editing. But if you see something that you like, drop a comment below with the timestamp, please. Don't just say hey, what pattern is the dragon, for example. Sure, I only have one dragon tonight, but when people say that, I'm like, okay, what dragon? If I have multiple of one animal. Sometimes you have 5 different axolotl patterns, for example. Please, if you want a pattern, please timestamp it. There is an option down there. I think when you comment on mobile or on your tablet, you can do that. But if you're watching on desktop, you have to type it in. So 01 semicolon 28 for 1 minute and 28 seconds, for example. Otherwise, I'm going to reply to you and say, hey, I need a timestamp. Okay, let's get to it. There are some things I have over here to my right, and those are things I've just made that I don't have in my inventory yet. I have a general idea of what I'm going to price them at, but I'm going to leave them off my list because I'm just going to throw them over there. I know I have to tag them yet. First up is a shark. I made this just the other day. I only have one. Same with a cute little dinosaur. I know this one's from Chanel's Crochet. I've made it multiple times now, and he's just so cute. The shark I probably will sell for 15, maybe 20, not sure yet. I work in increments of 5. The dinosaur is definitely 15. I made this cute little otter. I love this yarn. It's just so soft and fuzzy. I got it in a yarn haul. No idea what it was. If you watch that yarn haul video, you'll see what it was. It was a bonus video I posted on Wednesday. I think the thumbnail was 2 yarn hauls in one video or something like that. So the otter, probably gonna sell for 15. A lot of my handheld smaller items I sell for 15. Prices are subjective to your area. If you can sell this for, $20, $30, go right ahead. Please do. In my area, I can sell handheld items like this for 15. It's very rare that I sell anything over $30. That was a cute little bear. I made this the other night. This is a beetle by Stevie Crochet. It's a free pattern on Instagram. I really love it. It's so funny. He's so cute. I'll sell that one probably for 10. Next up is a little baby dragon from Amateur Hour on her Instagram. It's a free pattern. It's adorable. I love this one. I wish I had time to make more, but I don't. So baby dragon, sell him for, I'm gonna put 25 on him. But if he doesn't sell by Sunday, maybe I'll mark him down to 20. I have one Drift the Octopus in Chenille Home, and I sell these for $20. A little while ago, I had given some of my pom puppies. Well, I made them specifically for a local dog rescue. And I did a video about it. It was my scrappy puppy video. And then after that, I made 2 regular size puppies. And then somebody on the volunteer group, it's a Facebook chat we have, reached out and said, hey, how much is it to buy one of those puppies? And I had said, I sell them for 30. I said, I'm happy to make you one, but I don't live near the rescue. You have to come pick it up. And she goes, okay, I live in Kitchener. And I reached out to her a few days ago and I said, hey, by the way, I'm going to be at the Concordia Club this weekend in Kitchener. if you want to pick one up. That pattern is by Curious Papaya. Here is a Fred the Sea Turtle made out of Chenille Holmes Sweet Snuggles, all my scraps. I love this one. It's so pretty. I usually sell sea turtles for $30, but because this one, it turned out larger, of course, than like Bernat blanket size, I'm going to try to sell this one for $40. I don't know I've never been to this market before, so I don't know what's going to sell. I don't know what's going to be popular. I don't know the foot traffic, but it's 3 days and it's their 5th annual, so fingers crossed it's really good. I can sell all my plushies because that would be amazing. I have a second one of the Chenille Holmes Sweet Snuggles, and here's the difference in size for a Bernat blanket. So pretty good size difference there. So I'm going to try to sell these big ones for $40, and then these ones up here I always sell for $30, and I have no issue selling them for $30. I have 2 penguins, and this is Pearl the Penguin by Knott's Merry Yarn. I have 2 of them here, one with red scarf and red hat, one with a blue scarf and blue hat. I'm going to try to sell these because penguins are so popular, I'm curious if I can get $40 for these. And they are quite large because I made them out of, like, you know, the bigger Chenille Home Sweet Snuggles type of yarn. So you've already seen the one scrappy turtle, but I do have 3 more. And as I said, I sell these for $30 out of the Bernat blanket yarn. I had recently went to the Dollar Tree and then also ordered some from Temu, the foam hair curlers. So the really long ones there that you see, those are the ones from Temu. I think there was 10 in the package. Smaller, shorter ones there from the Dollar Tree. And I've been using these as prizes on my spinning wheel, or I sell them for $5. I don't have the plastic container that I was keeping them in anymore. I'm gonna go to the dollar store tomorrow, see if I can find a new one, you know, put them in there, because that worked really well, because people would see them in the jar and thought that was a cute display item. Chomp the Caterpillars. This is by Coffee and Crochet 01, a free pattern on Instagram, and just adorable. I love these so much. They're so much fun to make. I sell these for $15. Axolotls. I made a whole bunch lately because they just keep selling out, so I figured one day I was just gonna make a whole bunch of them. So let's see how many I have right now. And 7. I've won a Bernat blanket yarn. I sell these for $15. Some one-off items, and I might do, I can't remember who I seen do this. I think it might have been Christina at What's Up Cupcake Crafts, or Whimsical Crafts. I think she has like a spot on her table that says Misfit Toys, so like one-off items. And I kind of like that idea. I recently got some new signs for my display for this weekend. So I have a Triceratops. I had to think about the dinosaur. And I'm trying to sell him for $20. I've had him for quite a while, since the dinosaur week I did in July-ish. I think the variegated yarn throws people off because you can't really see his crown very well. So we'll see if he sells. Next up, I have 1 dragon left from my dragon week, and this was the baby dragon. This one I refused to bring down in price because of all the work that was involved and how much I hated making it. So still trying to sell him for $25. I have 1 Noodles the Kitten by Peach Puff Patterns. I'm trying to sell her for $20. I only have 1, so I find that when I have multiples of an item, it sells better, but I only have 1. I don't have time to make more, so we'll see how that goes. I currently have 2 snakes, and I've had them at 2 markets, and I keep getting the same comment, and I do agree with it, but it's just the way the yarn worked out. People keep saying, oh look, they're snakes, but they look like geese, because of the orange. Like the orange, that's just where the yarn started when I started, and I never even thought about it when I was making them, that, oh, it looks like, you know, a duck beak, or a goose beak, or whatever. I never even thought about it. Maybe they'll sell, maybe they won't. If they don't sell, of course I'll be giving everything to like a charity, or like, you know, I'll be doing something with them. I'm not exactly sure yet, but hopefully they sell. I recently made a whole bunch of turtles because they sell well for me and I want to use up some scraps. So here's number 1. I also sell these for $15. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those were all made out of Chenille Home Sweet Snuggles. And I have 3 made out of Bernat blanket yarn. Made these a while ago, and this is the 3 that I have left. I recently purchased this pattern from Knott's Merry Yarn, and I absolutely love it. It's just freaking cute. These are baby jellyfish, or baby octos, whatever you want to think of them as, really. A lot of people are calling them baby octos when I had them at an event. I didn't sell any that night, but I only sold 4 items that night, one of them being a trade. It was just like a small town thing. So I have 5 in total, trying to sell. I think I had them listed on my table for 10. They don't take long to make at all. I really love this pattern and I highly recommend it. I have 3 sitting bees, trying to sell these for $10 each. I've only had them at 1 market. People were really interested, but they, you know, nobody was really buying that night, and it was the same one I just talked about, the small town market. It's a free pattern on Instagram by Cheerful Coyote. I currently have 2 pandas at $15 each, one with green eyes and one with like orange sparkle eyes. Here's a display piece I'll show you. I got it from Dollarama for $5. It's plastic, so it's not going to break, which is nice. So I like to have my turtles on here to add like some, you know, elevation. Here's another piece I got from the dollar store. Probably also for $5 or maybe 4, but probably 5. It's just a nice little spinning rack. I've been putting my chickens in here. I have 2 little birds at $10 each. If these don't sell by Sunday, I'm going to mark them, well, I'm going to put them in the $5 bin just because I made them. And I sold 4 to one guy at the farmer's market, but nobody else has been interested in these. I have 1 basket buddy left. This was one of my original ideas. I'm trying to sell her for $30. A lot of people want to pick her up out of the basket, but I have her tied into it with the zip tie, so she can't be removed. But I always say to people, you know, get home, remove the zip tie, and then you can remove her. I just don't want her falling out because the basket is so shallow. And then I even put like nice little flowers on the handles. I have a whole video on the Basket Buddies series, so feel free to go watch that if you want more inspiration. Also for my Misfit toys, I have a $10 little blue bunny. I believe this is by Moonbeam Crochet on Instagram, and I think it's so cute. You could do like a little bobble tail. Trying to sell him for $10. We had our supper and we're back. Steve, the husband, is working late, so Larry and I are just, you know, enjoying some time together before Survivor starts tonight. You can help me count inventory? He's tired. We're gonna show off the rest of the plushies. So with doing this and, you know, going through my inventory, it's gonna be easier for me to, what do you call it? And I guess organize things, because I want to put like $15 items all in one bag, etc., etc. Do you mind? Are you gonna help? Or are you gonna be a turd? Okay, so moving on, we have more $15 items. We have some jellyfish. I don't know how many I have right now. So here's 2, number 3 and number 4. So I guess we have 4 jellyfish right now. As I said, also $15. I recently made these cute little dinosaurs. This pattern is by MyUniverse64, free on Instagram. They're really cute. I love these. 3, 4. So we have 4 right here, but I do think I have more. I'm wrong. We only have 4. I don't remember what I had these listed for because I had them on a table with a little sign. Pretty sure it was 15. Might have been 10. But I'm going to write them down. I don't know what I'm going to write them down as. Let's say 15 for now. For the Misfit toys, something I always wanted to make was a bumble cat. So it's a cat that's a bumblebee. I think he's just so cute. I don't know where I came up with this idea. Maybe I was inspired online. I really don't remember. You know, a little stinger for a tail. I'm trying to sell him for $30. Again, with the Misfit toys, this guy is 15, and he is an octopus cowboy. Or what was he called online? Cowghoul. Sorry, I don't remember the pattern designers. I think it might be the Knit Knots. Free on Instagram. I have 2 of these Mom Stitchetti frogs. I'm selling these for $15. I have 2 left. I think originally I had made like 4. Moving on to the second sheet. It's nice that these are sticky notes. That falls, it's gonna scare Larry, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Up next we have my fat ass frogs. I love these so much. This pattern is by, I want to say it's Tinkering Crochet. I haven't made any in a few days. Pretty sure it's Tinkering Crochet. And by a few days, I mean a few weeks. So this is out of the color Spagum. We have 4. That's in the Demi Pearl yarn. Also in the Demi Pearl yarn, we have these 3. And this is, I think, Vibrant Green is what it's called. So that's 7 times 15. Next up are one of my favorite things to make. These are possums, and the pattern is by Crochet by LPC. It's a paid pattern on Etsy. And I make some of them out of the sparkle yarn. So I call them sparkle possums or party possums. So I have 3 of these. I sell these for 15 as well. I missed one, so I have 4 of the sparkle possums. I then have 6 of the regular colored possums. It's just like a dark gray. I don't remember what gray it is. I think it's vapor gray. Wait, you lay down. I keep telling Larry to lay down, but he never wants to to do that. Like even in the car, he just stands. So he's just weird. Right now he's currently sitting, so that's good. I have 2 Drift the Octopus out of Bernat Blanket. I do like to have more than this, but I'm not gonna have the time. I sell these for $20. Here is my apple basket, and it's quite heavy. I like it because this is where I keep all of my baby safe snugglers or baby safe items. I try to keep the baby safe items to like one section of the table, so like it's easy for people to browse for a gift. And then I did buy a new photo frame, so I could put a sign there saying the items in the baskets are baby safe, or this side of the table is baby safe. I still have to design that. I have to do that tomorrow. I have 3 ducks currently. I sell these for $20. I do a mixture of 2 patterns for these. So the body is Baby Della Duck along with the beak, but the wings, the tail, and the legs are from Atomic Crochet's Cuddle Buddies pattern. I just cannot seem to understand the directions for the Baby Della Duck feet. But the other pattern I can grab and like understand no problem. I still have my blue chicken because nobody wants a blue chicken, but that's okay. If it doesn't sell, I'm going to give it to one of my nephews for Christmas. So that's $25. And like these ones I'm not considering like misfits because they're snugglers and they stay in that basket. And I have a mallard. This is from these are both from the Cuddle Buddies pattern by Atomic Crochet. I guess 1, 2, 3. And so is this one. So I have 4 right now out of that pattern. It's one of my favorite patterns to make. It's just so cute. I like the way the size turns out. Let me show you the difference between like Sweet Snuggles and Bernat Blanket. So quite a good size difference there, and I sell them all for $25. I know I could mark this guy down and I might just to get him to sell, but we'll see. So far that's 4 at $25. And then I also have a tiny teddy. This is by Odd Dolly Shop bought on Etsy. So it's a paid pattern. And then for my Halloween snugglers, I still have my bat, which I am shocked about because so many people pick it up and they're like, oh my god, it's a little bat, he's so cute. He's still with me, clearly. So trying to sell him for $25 as well. So how many snugglers was that? So 6 of them at $25. So I always put my ducks in here as well because, you know, of course they're baby safe. Here's something else I bought at the dollar store recently for my table. It's pretty Christmassy. It's like a floor mat. Kind of looks like Larry when he's hairy. Is this a sheepdog rug? Just kidding. It's not. Let's see how you look. Oh, it's like a lion's mane. He hates having anything on him. No, you're fine. Sit down. Chickens are another good example of why I want to do this inventory, so I can keep them all in one bag. So right now they're spread all across my plushie bags because I don't know why. So 1. So it looks like I have 24 chickens in total, all different colors of Bernat blanket. I sell these for $10. Looks like I missed a possum. See what I mean? Everything is kind of spread out. There's also a turtle in this bag. I don't know why it's in here compared to, you know, the other ones all being together. If you watch my channel, you know that there's certain words in the house I can't say because of Larry the puppy dog. I can't say the word Kitty because he thinks that is the name of his favorite neighbor. It's not. But when he's over there, they have one of those and they say, oh, do you see that through the window? Do you see the Kitty through the window? So that's why he associates that. So I can't say that word, but I do make 2 different versions of them. So of course in Chenille Home they come out bigger, or Sweet Snuggles, whatever. And then I make a larger size in the Bernat blanket. And I have these on my table as kittens. So I have 3 right now of like this larger size, and I sell these for $10. And then I have the smaller size that I put in my $5 bin, and I just refer them as my mini KITTYS. So you can see the size difference here. I believe with, and of course mystical yarn is much smaller, like Bernat blanket mystical, than like the old formula, for example. So there is a difference, but with the $5 ones, I usually get up to 24 stitches, and then with the $10 ones, I do about 32 stitches. This is my bag of $5 items. I have like a little bin that says, or it's like a basket, I guess, like a deep basket, and I have a sign on it that says $5 plushies. So let's count how many I have of those. I really don't know. So I have some bees, so let's count the bees first. 1. 9 bees in total. I only have yellow right now because the rest of them I had given out like during Halloween night. After that, I just made a whole bunch of yellow ones because I had a bunch of yellow yarn. And I find the yellow ones sell the best. Like every once in a while I'll sell a different color, but yellow is favored. Here's some more of the Mom Stitch Eddie frogs in Bernat blanket. If I use like a smaller hook, so like a 7mm, I can usually get them like really tiny like this, and I have no problem putting the $5 bin, mainly because I just use them, like use scraps for these. So I have 3 of these. I have 3 hearts in total. I had made these for a fundraiser thing, but nobody ended up choosing these that night, and that's okay. I think I'm going to put these on keychains and display them as keychains rather than just having these in the $5 bin. And like when somebody chooses something small from the $5 bin or from my table, I always offer to put it on a keychain for free, but I think these will sell better as a keychain already. It's nice about this upcoming market, like the 3-day one, I have 2 tables, which is nice. So I have room to spread things out. I have 1 each of a pink pineapple and then 1 like stress ball. And then everything that is left are more mini KITTY or KITTIES. So let's count those. 1, 2. 16 and 17. So in total, it looks like I have 34 $5 items. That's everything I have for plushies right now. I am going to take my double pom-pom beanies. I do have some finished. I just had to put the pom-poms on. I have those to take as well, so that's nice. I usually put those like on a mannequin head on a stand, all in one side of the table. The smaller market on Thursday night, so tomorrow night, I do get an 8-foot table, just 1 table, and I'm excited for that because then I can kind of see, like map out in my head how this weekend's gonna look. I usually do a mock, well, I shouldn't say I always do a mock setup, but for big events, I do like to do the mock setup. I just don't know if I'm gonna have time to do it. Maybe I'll just do it by the seat of my pants when we get there on Friday. But that being said, the reason I like to do a mock setup is because I have so many different display pieces, so I never know what to take. If you want to see all the display pieces that I do have a video, I believe it's on the $5 Market Makes finale, where I took everything from my $5 market day. I did a mock setup in my carport garage and showed you all the display pieces that I have. Most of them are thrifted. I think 2 or 3 of them are brand new. I always tell people, make sure you check the thrift stores because 1, you're saving the environment, you know, it's more environmentally friendly, and you know, you get some good deals and you don't have to do what everybody else does. I know everybody has those wooden crates, and so do I, but I did get those from a local maker. So during editing of this video, I am going to put in the total dollar amount of plushie inventory that I have, and hopefully I can sell a lot during the next 4 nights, 4 days, whatever you call it, at this crazy weekend of mine. I'm excited. I look forward to it. The weather's supposed to be total trash, which sucks because driving in the snow is no fun and I'm already an anxious driver as it is. But I'm just gonna have to make do. I am gonna travel with like, you know, like a travel duffel bag. I'm gonna have to take my BiPAP CPAP machine with me each day just in case I get storm stayed. I can't sleep without it, like literally. Walking in a winter wonderland, but I don't like driving in a winter wonderland. I hate driving in the winter. I made it safely to my destination. Usually this drive would take me about 40 minutes, but this time it took an hour and 20 just because of the craziness and everything and the snow. So last night I shoveled about a foot of snow, so 12 inches off the back deck. And then this morning we woke up to 3 more feet of snow, so that's 4 feet in total. And it was just absolutely insane. The drive took me an hour and 20, as I said, and then when I dropped Larry off at daycare this morning, that drive took an hour, when usually it takes about 25 minutes, but I gave myself extra time. I knew it would be trash because, well, I'm Canadian, we know what winter's like, and oh my god, it's such a long drive today, and I'm just glad I made it safely. I had to go the long way around into the city, like basically a route that made 0 sense at all, and there's not much else I could do about it. Because I guess the way that I usually take, somebody posted online that one of the curves, people were in the ditch and there's a big pile up. So go around, like don't take that road. So I had to go a long way around, but I made it here safely and that's what counts. I have loaded all my stuff into the venue. It's decorated so beautifully in there. Can't wait to show you. Yeah, I just gotta go set it all up now. The communication about this event wasn't super amazing. I brought my 2 6-foot tables because I figured I'd be needing them, but I got in there and they have an 8-foot table set up for us. And all the tablecloths match, which is fine because I don't have I have an 8-foot tablecloth, but it's not that nice. It's just a dollar store one. So, you know, it's nice that it all matches and it does look really nice in there. So they're probably trying to keep that aesthetic, but that's okay. So the 8-foot table will have to do. I was kind of planning on the 2 6-foot, but I hadn't done a mock setup yet. And I plan on just flying by the seat of my pants because you see, I don't have a whole lot of plushies, but I have enough at least for an 8-foot table. And I have my mannequin Bonnie with me. I have my my mannequin head, her name is Sandra, with me for the double palm beanies. Hopefully I can make this work, and I'm sure I can. You know, I've done an 8-foot setup before. Look forward to it. Yay for winter. Not really, I hate winter. As you seen on the text earlier in this video, the small market in the small town was canceled last night. We got the worst of the storm last night. It was supposed to stop by today around noon, but that didn't happen. And now it's supposed to continue all weekend. Because I have the Airbnbs, I'm staying in the city, I don't have to drive home for another hour and 20 minutes, probably even longer if I had to do it in the dark. I'm just thankful for that option of Airbnb because hotels are way too expensive. So tonight I'm staying with a nice lady named Jennifer. Tomorrow I'm staying with a nice lady named Cindy. They each have one night available. Once I get set up, I will, you know, give you like a panned view of the venue in here. It's so beautiful. So the Concordia Club is like a German style banquet hall restaurant. You can get married here. It's a really nice venue. And I've been here before, like as a child. I used to come here with my grandparents and my stepdad and, you know, just other things. But the banquet hall tonight looks so beautiful. I kind of regret not getting married here because of how nice it looks inside. And like right now it is decorated like Bavarian Christmas. And I love that style, so I'm just excited. So far, I am the youngest vendor here. A bunch of people have loaded in, like we are all taking turns like through the doors and stuff. And I think everybody's probably in their 80s. But that's okay. Hopefully they all have grandkids. They want plushies. And, you know, I'm assuming like tomorrow and Sunday there'll be like, you know, younger people through. You know, I'm not used to being the youngest vendor at a place, but you know what? That's okay. This is my home for the next 3 days. After that, I have nothing planned. So hopefully I can sell almost everything this weekend because that would be nice. If certain things don't sell, that's fine because I give them as gifts or donate them to different charities. It's always nice to see people's reactions to my products. Hi friends, I am home from my 3-day market. I made it home last night safely. There was a bit of extra time in the travel, but it wasn't as bad as it was on Friday. If you hear any funny noises in the background of this clip, or in the next few clips. My next door neighbor is clearing the snow with his snow machine or snow blower, whatever you want to call it. So it is a bit of a funny sound because the snow that we got last night was very heavy and like slushy, so half rain, half snow. So you can kind of hear it. So just FYI, that's what that sound is. Hopefully it's not too bad while I'm editing, but I'll try to edit it out if I can, if there's any like pauses. So I know I said, oh, it can take you long for the entire weekend, but Friday night I was so exhausted from driving so much and, you know, just concentrating and, you know, trying to stay alive on the roads that I got to my Airbnb and I was awake for maybe like 30 minutes and then I fell asleep because I was just so tired from that driving. And then, you know, sitting there and setting up and, you know, doing all that stuff on Friday. And that Airbnb was beautiful and nice and really nice host and stuff. Like I got up early Saturday because I fell asleep so early on Friday night. And then I knew Walmart in the city opens, I think at 8. So I knew I wanted to get over to a Walmart just because I knew I needed to move my legs quite a bit and like my body because we were in the venue from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. on Saturday. So it was a really long day. So I wanted to get ahead of that and just walk around to Walmart, get a few groceries. So I went to Walmart in the morning. I got like some sushi for lunch that I could eat at the venue. And like they had food there for us to order. We'll talk about that. You know, just want to get a few other things. I got a, you know, a crossword, or not a crossword book, but a word search book. And just, you know, if I could do during any lulls or whatever. And then I went over to the venue and we were there, as I said, from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. It was so nice to see like other vendors, like they would have somebody come and take over for them. And, you know, like spouses would, you know, switch back and forth and stuff. And one of them would walk around or go home for lunch and yada yada. Or like, you know, some people's kids came in because as I said, I was the youngest vendor and that remained true. There might have been like one girl close to my age, but she was helping her grandmother. So it was fun. It was fun. I had a good time. Saturday was definitely the busiest day. I mean, no surprise because it was 10 hours long. And Sunday was 6 hours long from 10 till 4. But nobody came through from 10 until noon. And then afternoon, people started showing up and like buying stuff. But there was nobody through the doors. So it was just a funny way to start the day. But that's okay. It was a great weekend. And I was already satisfied with Saturday and Friday. So if I didn't make any money on Sunday, I would have been okay. So after my long day on Saturday, I had an Airbnb booked. And you may have seen the text on the screen earlier about a horror story about the Airbnb. So the Saturday night one was the horror story. It was a lot of safety hazards in that Airbnb. And I watched a lot of Mike Holmes, like on the Home Network. So like Homes on Homes, where he goes and fixes crappy jobs done by contractors and stuff. And like growing up with like a father who's very handy and like, you know, he had rebuilt a lot of the houses, like the homes that we had lived in as kids and, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, I'm pretty handy myself. I mean, I try to be, but you know, there's certain things I can't do and there's certain things I can do. So as soon as I get into an Airbnb space, like, or like, you know, any new space, I look for safety hazards or, you know, it's just kind of something second nature to me, especially if I, you know, it's a new space and I want to feel comfortable and, you know, I check for the fire exits, I check for this, I check for that, right? So I get down to this Airbnb and, you know, you walk in, it's an older home, like it was definitely built in probably like early 1900s. So I was in the basement apartment and like it was finished beautifully, keyword finished. It was aesthetically pleasing. Let's put it that way. It was aesthetically pleasing. It was really nicely designed and like the finishes were beautiful, but only the finishes were beautiful. The first thing you notice when you get down to this Airbnb is a little bit of a smell. And on the Airbnb reviews, looking afterwards, everybody's like, oh, there's a cigarette smell. You know, if you're sensitive to smells, I wouldn't rent this place, blah, blah, blah. Right? But I didn't think it smelled like cigarettes. I was like, that's a musty smell. I know that smell. That's black mold. So I'm like, oh God, okay, all right. I was like, okay, can I handle it? Like, you know, checking in with myself and my asthma and my lungs. And it wasn't bad. You know, it was only in like one like specific spot of this little apartment. So I went over to the bed and I sat on it and I breathed in a few times and like it didn't smell over there. So I felt okay sleeping there. I definitely wouldn't stay there again. You know, I'm looking around like this little space or whatever that she has for rent and, you know, I don't notice really any horrible hazards right away. So I messaged your Airbnb host and I had said, is it okay if I use the bathtub? I just want to double check just in case, you know, septic issues, water issues, blah, blah, blah. She said, yeah, go right ahead, by all means. Just don't flush any foreign objects down the toilet. And I said, haha, no promises. I guess they've had issues with that in the past at their space. Hop in the bathtub, you know, everything's fine. The water's nice and warm and bubbly, blah, blah, blah. But then, you know, you're laying there and like your mind's quiet and everything. And I thought, what's that smell? Right? So, you know, you open your eyes when you're in the bathtub and I look over the grout and there's black mold spores. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, oh, gross. I mean, sure, you know, grout gets gross because it's hard to clean, right? Especially like in a shower and stuff. But there's like mold spores. You can see them. I'm actually going to put the pictures up because this is just horrific. So I'm going to put the pictures up here for you. This is what I noticed first thing. And I was like, okay, all right, whatever. So I'm laying in the bathtub and I'm like, okay, I'm only here for a few minutes. It's okay. It's fine. You know, I finished in the bath, do my hair, blah, blah, blah. right? And then, I'm looking outside of the bathtub and I see this, which is right across from the bathtub. I didn't notice it at first because, it was a little dark in there. So definitely had some water damage that was never fixed. And then I get out of the bathtub and drying myself and, I bend down to, dry my legs, and then I see this in the bathroom. And I'm like, okay. I mean, like, I know it's water damage. We've had water damage here, but, we fix things and we, do the mold remediation, blah, blah, blah right away type thing because of my asthma. And I have really horrible lungs. See that? And I'm like, oh, okay, great, whatever. And I look up at the ceiling and I'm like, wait a minute, there's no ventilation in this bathroom. And that's disgusting because, moisture buildup, mold buildup. There was a tiny window, so I did crack that. It was gross because there was a lot of, just like damage in that bathroom. And like the finishes were beautiful. Like she designed it really nicely, but I was probably too distracted from all of the issues it had. And then I sit on like the little love seat that's in there, whatever. And, just counted the money from the day and got things organized again. And then I go to bed. I roll over, turn off the TV thing, roll over, put my CPAP machine and stuff on, press the on button with the CPAP machine, and then the breaker blows. And I'm like, son of a bee, because I literally am not allowed to sleep without my CPAP machine. My doctors say I will probably die. Good times. Called the Airbnb host on her cell phone because, of course, she had it listed on the fridge and stuff. Couldn't get a hold of her. So I had to go upstairs, indoors, right, and like knock on their door, like really loudly to get their attention because it's midnight at this point. So she comes down. I'm in my underwear. I don't care. I have no shame. So she comes down, she said, oh, what happened? And I had said, well, I started my CPAP machine and the breaker blew. And she goes, okay, well, let me show you which one it is again in case you have to flip it again. I said, okay, thank you, appreciate that. And then she goes, oh, what else in the room is plugged in? And I had said, well, I unplugged your little space heater. I said the lamp in the bathroom is still plugged in because I want it as a nightlight. And I have my cell phone charging on the USB brick thingy in the wall over there. And she goes, oh, okay, so there's 3 things plugged in. I was like, well, plus the TV. She goes, okay, let's unplug the TV. So we unplugged the TV. I unplugged the cell phone charger. I unplugged the lamp in the bathroom, right? So now it's pitch dark, which is fine. And so I get out my cell phone that I'm filming on right now, and I use the flashlight thing. And I had said, okay, are those breakers the outlets over there where my CPAP machine is and the one for my cell phone, are they on the same breaker? And she's like, yeah, this whole apartment's on one breaker. And I'm like, wait, what? And she was like, yeah, like the whole apartment. And I was like, and how often does your breaker blow? Or like, how many things can you plug in? And I'm asking these questions. And she was like, oh, yeah, it probably blows like, 1 or 2 times when people are staying here. I'm like, that's dangerous, right? Because, like circuit wiring and stuff, and the wires get overheat, and then there's a fire hazard and, stuff like that. And she was like, oh, yeah, we've never really had an issue or whatever. So I'm like, oh my God, all right. As I'm using my cell phone to like look at the, the outlets and stuff just to, be cautious, 2 centipedes come crawling out from under the love seat, like 2 big ass bugs. And I'm like, son of a bee. And then she's like, oh my God, that's so gross. I have to go back upstairs. And I'm like, okay, is there fly swatter down here so I can, get these turds? And she was like, yeah, it's in the bottom drawer in the kitchen. And she runs back upstairs. So I'm by myself in the dark now with my cell phone, chasing these freaking centipedes around. I got them, by the way, with effort. Eventually, these centipedes went back under the couch, like the love seat. So I moved the love seat so I can grab them, like smack them with the fly swatter. And the amount of dust and dirt that's under that freaking love seat, I was like, I mean, like, I know we all have dust bunnies under our couch, but if I'm renting your space from you, I expect it to be clean. Like, it was disgusting. I never got a picture of it because I was so grossed out. Eventually, I got the breaker flipped back on after getting the centipedes and, like, the dust and the dirt. So I just, shoved the love seat back, and I'm like, okay, ignore this, Melissa. It's midnight. But, like, honestly, if I didn't have my CPAP machine and it wasn't winter, I would have slept in my car because that's how grossed out I was. Oh my God, it was disgusting. Just looking around the space, turn the breaker back on, and then I thought, okay, well, the breaker blows all the time. I want to make sure that I'm safe for fire regulation. So there was a fire smoke alarm on the ceiling, and I'll put the picture here. There was a sticker on it that said replace in 2022. I mean, we all forget things, but she had told me, oh, I'm so embarrassed about the centipedes because I just had this place renovated. And I was like, professionally? And then she didn't say anything. So I don't know if she or her husband or whoever did the work and they were embarrassed about it, but they should be. And like they just covered things up. You could tell there was water damage under the floors and stuff because none of the floors were like laid properly, and I stubbed my toe on a few of them. And then at this point it's midnight, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go pee before I, try to fall asleep, after all this, if I can fall asleep. From the toilet, you kind of look under the bed, like down the room, and all the dust bunnies under the bed. And I was like, oh my God, my asthma's gonna kill me tonight, right? So I have my puppers with me always. When I go over to, just put one of like the decorative pillows on a chair over in the corner, I look up and there's a ceiling vent. And this is the state of the ceiling vent. It was like black dust coming out of it. And I was like, oh my God, right? Because, environmental hazards like that, bad for my lungs, but bad for anybody's lungs, right? So that's, 3 things. Then the smoke alarm needing replaced in 2022, another hazard. and then, you know, the breaker panel thing, and then the wires overheating possibly, and just, oh my, there was so much. I stood and I looked up at the smoke detector because, you know, the ceilings were pretty, nowhere in the listing did it say if you're over the height of 5'10" or 5'8", don't rent this place, because I'm 5'8", and I got this picture. That's how low the ceilings were. They were probably like 5'11". If you're 6 foot, you couldn't get in that. You wouldn't be able to stay there, and that was not in the listing. At one point, you know, right at midnight, I looked up at the smoke detector and I counted to 45 seconds. Not once did the light on it blink. So I thought, is there even batteries in this? But I did not want to take it off the wall and set it off. So I didn't take it off the ceiling. I didn't move it or anything, but I wonder if there's any batteries in it. Because a working smoke detector of that brand, I Googled it, would have a blinking light. So I thought, oh my God, you know, if there's a fire in this place, like tonight, I am screwed. I'm gonna die, right? Like, because there's no working smoke detectors. And like, maybe I would have heard it from upstairs because it's an older house and stuff, but I couldn't believe the state of this place. So the next morning I contacted, like up through the app on Airbnb, I had said, requesting a partial refund for cleanliness and environmental hazards. Then they got me to a specialist who deals with this type of thing on Airbnb. And she gave me a call and I told her all these things. And, you know, the host had 1 hour to respond to the claim and she didn't. Right, so Airbnb escalated it and stuff, and I got all my money back, so that's good for that one night. And oh my goodness, I just couldn't believe it. And they were like, yeah, we'll also give you like a credit towards like your next booking. It's valid for a year for like a cleaning like fee, right, or whatever, because it doesn't sound like this place was clean. And I was like, oh, it definitely wasn't. So now I have like a coupon credit thing on my Airbnb because of this night. So eventually the host gets back to me and she gives me like this big long speech on the app through direct messaging of, you know, please don't give me a 1, 2, or a 3 star, because, you know, that could like ruin like all my profits and blah blah blah. It's how I pay the mortgage and I'm alone and blah blah blah. Give me a pity story, right? And I was like I haven't responded or anything. And I said to my sister last night, because I was telling her about this horror story, and I told her about like this message I got, and then she was like, didn't you tell me that like around the house they had pictures or like notes, like house rules. A lot of Airbnbs have like, you know, please don't do this, please don't do that, you know, this stuff's in the fridge, blah 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 blah, right? Just like notes and stuff. And they were signed by this woman and her husband, right? So I'm like, I know she's not alone. And then I had heard a bunch of people upstairs, like as I was, you know, sitting on the love seat and stuff. That's fine, it's an old house, I expected that. And I was like, okay, you're not alone. So she gave me the sob story and she goes, please don't, you know, give me this rating. And I'm asking for, I don't need like a 5 star, but like, please at least give me a 4 star. And my husband's like, just don't respond to her and like, don't give her a rating. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna give her a rating, because what if somebody dies in that house? I would feel absolutely horrible knowing that I didn't raise any safety concerns. And I had said to the Airbnb lady on the phone, like the customer service rep, I said, I don't think this lady should be allowed to host until she proves that these things are fixed. It is not safe at all. And I just could not believe it. I was just flabbergasted. And I wish the lady I stayed with Friday night had a, you know, like a cancellation, because I would have driven over there at midnight and been like, thank you. Oh my God, it was just so disgusting. I couldn't believe it. I've never had a bad Airbnb experience before. Everything I've ever had was like really good, and I've always stayed with women. I just feel more comfortable that way. I couldn't believe it. And I said to my sister, I said, I feel bad because I have to give her a bad rating, and like, you know, that ruins like her superhost status, but I'm surprised nobody's done that. But then my sister and I went back and we looked at the reviews on this listing, and a lot of people give them 4 stars, and like you could tell they kind of wanted to say something else, but a lot of them were 4 stars rather than, you know, like 1, 2, or 3, which I think they probably would have given if they didn't feel bad for this woman. But I'm sorry, like, safety hazards. Like, I feel bad giving a bad review, and I'm going to, but safety hazards, safety, lives could be in danger. I feel bad giving her a bad review, but I have to at this point. Have to. So now let's get into the good part of the weekend, the sales, and not the Airbnb horror story. I'm not going to put pictures up of the items because I already showed you the items in this video. So, you know what, you can picture it. First thing to sell was one of the Stegosaurus dinosaurs, and that was the green one. A man walks up, he goes, oh my God, I love turtles, and I love the size of that. Oh, it's only $40. And I was like, oh man, maybe I could have sold it for more, but whatever, it's fine. He's like, I have to get this turtle. And he goes, my husband loves dinosaurs, he loves the color green, I need to get this green Stegosaurus from you. And I said, okay, thank you. I asked him if he wanted to spin the wheel, he said, no, that's okay. And then the next thing to sell was one of my big penguins, the one with the scarf and the hat. It was one with the blue, and that sold for $40. She spun the wheel and she won a free fidget worm, which she was excited about. And then her friend that was with her bought 2 of the little chickens, and she also won a fidget worm. And I made the joke of, sorry, the fidget worms are too big for those chickens to eat. And I thought that was funny. Next up, I sold 2 items from my $5 bin. My $5 bin got emptied over the weekend, but, you know, to be expected. It was a frog and a bee. And the only bees I had this weekend were yellow and black. Earlier in the week, I had heard from someone who also volunteers for the puppy rescue that I made the Scrappy puppy for, and she ended up going with the brown and tan one. Next up to sell was a jellyfish, and that was the teal with, or what, I guess it was like mint body and then like the teal tentacles. And then I had a woman walk up and she had said, "Do you have any ducks that would fit in my son's stocking for Christmas?" And I was like, I have like $20 ducks, like those snuggler ones I made. And she goes, "No, I mean, like, I want something like, you know, like handheld that he could put in a shelf in his room." I said, "Oh, I usually make rubber ducks, but I don't have any right now." Right? She goes, "Oh, do you live in town? I could like pick it up later in the week." And I was like, "You know what? I have a whole big bag of yarn down here that I brought with me to work on. Pick from these colors. I can make you one right now if you're walking around like this event." She goes, "Oh, okay. So I come back in like an hour?" And I was like, "Oh no, it'll take me like 15 minutes-ish, you know, depending on distractions and like sales and stuff." She goes, "Oh, wow, okay, thank you." Right? And she goes, "What would the cost be?" And I said, "Well, I'll make it really small and then you can pay me $10 for it." So that was my sales on Friday. It was only from 4 till 8 p.m. In total, on Friday, I made $165 in sales. As I mentioned earlier, Saturday was from 10 until 8 p.m. And that gave me the idea to mark things down hour by hour because, you know, maybe that would make my day not feel as long. So first thing to sell was, before we even started, to another vendor. She was eyeing up the little chickens because her sister has Wyandotte chickens. I don't know anything about chickens, but she bought a black and white little chicken and then also a dinosaur for her nephew. It was the blue brontosaurus one I had just made, which was great because I had embroidered eyes and he's a young infant child. That was $20 off the hop. And then I ended up selling a mini kitty to a small child that was helping her mom, and she spun the wheel and got a free $5 item, so she chose another mini kitty. So she got 2 of them for $5. The next thing to sell was the $10 penguin, and that was the one with the penguin head and like the blue colored body. You would have seen it earlier in this video. And they also bought a mini kitty, and then they spun the wheel and they got a free scrunchie, so the mom was excited to get a scrunchie. Next up to sell was one of my little baby jellyfish. I love that pattern by Knott's Merry Yarn. It's so cute. I love it so much. I love that Sweet Snuggles yarn. And sold that for $10, and they spun the wheel and got a high five. Next to sell was this nice woman. She walked past and she was like, "Oh, that is so cute," because I displayed this little guy prominently on my table, hoping he would sell that day, and it worked. It was a little blue bunny that I had just made by Moonbeam Crochet. It's a free pattern on Instagram. You would have seen it earlier. But she was like, "It's just so cute and tiny." And she goes, "I want it for me." And I was like, honestly, yeah, a lot of adults buy these for themselves because it's more nostalgic and you're sporting somebody small. So that was from 10 till 11 a.m. and that was a sales of $70. And then 11 a.m. till noon, people were starting to sit for lunch because where we were, like at the venue, you could order from like the bar and they had schnitzel on a bun with sauerkraut, same with sausage on a bun with sauerkraut, and people were sitting down to eat. But I liked my spot because everybody was like, you know, looking at my stuff as they were eating. So that was great. I had somebody come over and they were like, "How much are these possums?" And normally I sell my possums for $15, but I have so many right now, as you've seen, that I started selling them for $10 because I didn't have any like price tags on any of them. I had just said, "Oh, they're $10. So this lady bought a possum and also a fat ass frog in the color vibrant green. She spun the wheel and she won a free $5 item, and she chose a mini kitty. So that was sales of $20 for the 1 hour between 11 a.m. and noon. I believe that 12 until 1 p.m. was my best sales hour. A nice lady came up and she goes, "Oh, your little minis are so cute. They're only $5. And I said, "Yep." And she picked out 3 minis. I did not write down what they were because like it was back to back to back at this point because people were starting to shop after lunch. Right, so wrote down 3 minis. She spun the grand prize, and I had said, "Okay, anything from my table under $20. So she's looking around the table and she goes, "There is something I'm really drawn to." She goes, "Can I give you an extra $5? So because it's a $25 item." I was like, "Oh, what is it?" And it was my purple bat, and I was so excited. This one here, I've been trying to sell since the dawn of time. Not really, but it feels like it because I think I made it in like September, August-ish, and people were picking it up, but like nobody's really like seeing it, and they'd find something else. And then I was like, "No, please take the purple bat." She's like, "Oh no, let me give you an extra $5. You said under 20. I told her the story, and I had said, "That's the one I really wanted to sell this weekend. And I just wanted to sell it because it's so cute." She goes, "My daughter would love it. Her favorite color is purple, and she loves bats. She's a weirdo." Right? And I was like, "Sure." I said, "Please, please take that one." I was so excited that she took it. I was so pleased. Right? So I even put a big smiley face right there. So I was so excited for that. Next up to sell, right after this woman, was my little cow snuggler. Nice, and they won a high five. And I sold the cow snuggler for $25. And right after that, somebody bought my purple granny square sweater from me, so this one here. Next to sell was the blue drift the octopus, and that was great. They spun the wheel and I got a free fidget worm. Good thing I made all these fidget worms, but preemptively I knew, because I put fidget worm on the spinning wheel I think 3 or 4 times. And then the last sale of the hour was this little girl. You can tell she's very persuasive with her parents and her grandma. They were going to get her one of those little $10 sitting bees, you know, those little cute ones. And she was like, oh, I really like that bee up there. And I was like, oh, that's my bumble cat. You know, it's half cat, half bee. And like her stepdad was like, no, it's $30. We're not buying that for you. You don't need a $30 plushie. I said, well, the sitting bee is really cute. Like, it sits on its own. She goes, well, that one stands on its own. And, you know, you can tell this girl could be a lawyer someday because she had all the arguments and she was so fast with them. And this girl was like 12. It's not like she was 4. And he was like, okay, fine, I'll buy it for you. So he ended up buying her the bumble cat. And they spun the wheel and she got a high five. She's a little disappointed in that. And he was like, you don't need anything else. $30 is already too much. And then from 1 till 2 p.m., my friend showed up because, you know, I was posting on Instagram that I was here and there. And my friend wanted to come and try on some of my sweaters. She wanted to get to Stratford last weekend, but she also had an event with her. She sells like crystals, like amethysts and other stuff. I don't know what they are. So she bought the purple hexagon sweater for me. Here's a picture for you. And then she spun the wheel. She got a scrunchie. She gladly took a scrunchie. Next up to sell was one of my palm turtles. Next up was the white and blue bird. So that was nice. The lady walked up and she goes, oh, my daughter would love this. She loves birds. She's a bird watcher and she loves winter. So white, winter. And then she goes, but she really doesn't like the pink color. And I said, oh, I have one more bird, but it's under the table. I just didn't set both of them out. She goes, oh, is it a different color than pink for the comb? And I said, yeah, it's blue. She goes, oh, perfect. That's her favorite color. So I bring it out and she goes, oh, I have to buy that for her. And I said, okay, do you want to spin the wheel or you just want to pick like a free item from the $5 bin? She goes, oh, spin the wheel. So she spun the wheel, she got a scrunchie. And like this woman was probably like close to 90. And she had said, well, I definitely don't need a scrunchie, but somebody in my family will. I said, oh, it'll fit in a stocking. She was so cute. Next up was an axolotl. I was surprised it took so long for somebody to purchase an axolotl because you know how crazy axolotls are popular. So it was the dark blue one with I think the light blue frills. They spun the wheel and got a high five. Next up was 2 $5 items, and that was an orange kitty and a bee. Then from 2 till 3 p.m., I sold 0 and nothing at all. I think people were, you know, going home to, you know, take their naps. The demographic was older. I mean, like there were, I would say the demographic over the age of 70 was probably like 70% of people through. And then there were like, of course, you know, some younger people, not very many. So from 3 until 4, I sold a mini kitty for $5 and they spun the wheel and got a scrunchie. And these are the scrunchies I was giving out was from the Whispers of Summer collection from the Niagara market I did. Fidget worm, they wanted to buy one. And they won a scrunchie, so that was great. Next up was a little mini bee from the $5 bin. And they spun and they got a high five. So I made $15 in that hour. From 4 until 5 p.m. I sold a sweater again, so that was great. And then she purchased 2 minis from she purchased 2 minis from me. I offered for her to spin the wheel. She said, oh no, it's okay. I'm another vendor. I know how it is. Right, so she purchased those from me, so that was nice. So that was 3 items there. Next up to sell was a purple axolotl. So it was like the dark purple color, and then also a mini kitty. They spun and they got a high five. Next up was 2 $5 items, and they were both mini kitties, and they spun the wheel and they won a fidget worm. From 5 until 6 p.m. This is where I really started to scribble because things were getting busy. Then it was like back to back to back. So from 5 until 6 p.m. I sold a $10 chicken. They spun and got a fidget worm. I sold a bee for $5 and they spun and won a fidget worm. And then the exact same thing happened. Somebody else bought a bee and they spun and won a fidget worm. And then next up, somebody bought a pink pineapple from my minis collection and they spun and got a fidget worm. Next up, somebody bought a $10 chicken. They spun and won a high five. Next up was 2 $5 items, a kitty and a frog, and they spun and won a fidget worm. So how many fidget worms wiggled their way out of my basket in that hour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then after that, oh yeah, I gave out a freebie. This cute little girl was walking by. She was so adorable. She must have been like 2, 2.5. And she was with her dad's, and they had her in like cute little like ponytail, like little pigtails. Like she had really thin hair, but they were sticking straight out. You know how little girls are. Oh my god, she was so cute. And I was like, is it okay if I give her a free item? And then they're like, no, you don't have to do that. And I was like, I can't resist. She's so cute. Right. So I said, pick a little item from the $5 bin. And then right after that, another vendor come over and then she had said, oh, I seen the little girls walking around with little mini items. Do you have any more frogs in there? I said, I think the frogs are all gone. And then I said, but I brought all this yarn. I showed her the colors and I said, I could make you one right now. And then she goes, okay, all right, I'll get it from you tomorrow. And I said, oh no, I can make it in 20 minutes. She goes, oh, I'm actually going home. My partner's taking over. because they were selling jewelry together. So her and another lady were selling jewelry. She goes, I get to go home now. I said, okay, all right. Right, so I finished that little froggy. It was a little purple one, and I only charged her the 5 instead of 10 because she was nice and she's another vendor. So in that hour, I made $50 from 6 until 7 p.m. The other dad that was shopping with the 2 kids came over, and his little daughter was like, you know, showing off her kitty that she got from me, and she was so cute. And so for their son, they ended up getting a caterpillar. I sold it to them for $10. I didn't have the sign, and sometimes sell for $15, but I didn't have the sign. They're like, how much is this? And I was like, just 10 is good. It was the one that was Sailor's Delight. You would have seen it earlier in this video. And after that, I sold a $10 baby jellyfish, so yay. And they spun the wheel and they got a free mini kitty. Next up, I traded a turtle for a candle. And I'll show you the candles that I got in a bit. Next up was another baby jellyfish, and that was so exciting because they're just so cute. I love them so much. I would love to make like 40 and put them on my table. Maybe I will at some point. And they spun and won a grand prize, so that was fun. And they ended up going with the purple regular size jellyfish, so like the $15 jellyfish, because I said under $20. And they're kind of keep the theme going. So they got the purple baby jellyfish and then the purple big jellyfish. Next up was a $5 mini kitty, and I asked if they wanted to spin. They said, no, that's okay. And they walked away. So in that hour, I made $35. And then from 7 till 8 p.m., I sold one item because things were dying down. And there was a family who was just, you know, trying to get out, but one of the kids, I think they had 3 kids with them, and the other 2 kids had already bought something from somebody else. And then, well, I want something too. You know how that goes. And they ended up choosing a pink and green axolotl. So it was the hot pink with the green frills that I had made. And then they spun the wheel and they won a free fidget worm. So that was the end of Saturday. And then came Sunday. And Sunday, you know, as I said, it was a little bit slower. There was nobody through from 10 until noon. And that's what the first lady, she was saying. She goes, we wanted to have lunch first and then, you know, just kind of look around as we were eating and stuff. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. And then they ended up going with, and I was kind of sad about it, because for the longest time in their hands, they had the blue chicken snuggler, right? So they had that in their hands for the longest time. And I'm like, yes, you know, in my head, I'm like, ooh, yay, they're gonna buy it. And then they put it down when they seen a polar bear snuggler. So they bought that one, the polar bear, and they set down the blue chicken. I'm like, ah, darn it. And they also bought an orange duck. So that was $45 right there. And they spun and won a high five. Next up, I had a nice woman. She tried on the pink and white double palm beanie, and she's like, oh, I can't leave without it. Next up to sell was another sitting bee. And I'm so glad that these sold because they're just so cute. I love them too. So that was $10. They spun and won a fidget worm. Next thing to sell was a mini kitty, and then they spun the wheel and they got a free $5 item, and they got another mini kitty. And then there were 2 cute little girls that were walking around this day. Their mom was the one like providing like live music. So they were helping their mom. They were coloring at the tables and stuff. And like these girls were like 10, 11-ish. And they were sweet girls, very sweet. So they came over and they were like, oh, you put new things in your $5 bin from yesterday. And I had said, yeah, it was getting low. And there are certain things on my table that, you know, I've had forever, they just haven't sold. 2 things I ended up putting in there were my pandas. I was trying to sell them for 15, but I've had them for a long time. People pick them up and see the price tag and set them back down. I had lowered them to 10 for Saturday, and that thing happened again. So I was like, you know, I'm just gonna put them in the $5 bin so they don't have to be on my table and in my stock, and there's only 2 of them, so it's fine. So they chose a $5 panda, and they spun a free fidget worm. And they were so pleased about their fidget worm, they came over and they gave me a Christmas card. And they were so cute. They were such sweet girls. And they said, hi, we made you this. So they just did it in pencil. It says Merry Christmas. It's adorable. I put a smiley face and candy canes with bows and an ornament. And they said, open the card. And I said, okay, I'll open the card. So I opened the card. It said, thank you so much and Merry Christmas. And then it says, from Ducky and Beans. So they drew the little mini kitty plushies. It's so cute because they both had mini kitties through the weekend. So this is Ducky and that is Beans. And I said, that's so sweet of you girls. I'm going to hang this in my office or maybe on my fridge. Definitely going to keep this as memorabilia. And after I received that, I sold a fat ass frog, the color Vibrant Green. I ended up selling it for 10 because I didn't have them labeled. And somebody was like, how much is this one? And I was like, you know, $10 is fine. And then these 2 little girls came back over, the ones that gave me a Christmas card, because earlier in the event or whatever, because they were there all weekend with their mom, they had won 2 fidget worms. And they had said, if we give you back these 2 $5 items, could we give you another $5 and get one of those turtles? And I had said, are you girl sisters? You know, have all these little plushies of mine at home? And they had said, yes, we're sisters. Right. And I had said, you know what, because the turtle is going to a good home, I said, don't give me another $5. Just take one of the turtles. And they took the brunette blanket one in like a blue color shell. So it wasn't one of my scrappy ones. It was fine. Next up was a pink axolotl. They ended up spinning the wheel and they won a free $5 item and they took a mini kitty. At this point, my mini kitties were basically all gone. I don't know how many at the beginning of this video. Next up, somebody was looking for a baby gift. And she's seen the little blue stegosaurus with like the different colored spikes for, I think it charged $10. She spun and won a high five. So in the hour of 1 till 2 p.m. I made $40. And then from 2 until 3 p.m. I sold my remaining pom puppy, the black and white one. The last $5 panda sold, and the little boy spun. He was a little disappointed to win a high five, but he also thought it was kind of fun at the same time. And so in that hour from 2 till 3 p.m. I made $35. And that was the end of my sales. It went till 4 p.m. People were kind of filtering out, or they're sitting and eating. You know, everybody's standing around. We're like, should we pack up? Should we not? You know, what if somebody else comes in? You don't want to pack up too early, right? So I started running. I was the first one to initiate this because nobody was making trades. You know, people just don't think of it, or like maybe they're just too afraid to ask others. As you heard me say in the past, I'm not afraid to approach people for trades. So the first person I approached for a trade, and yes, I have moved my chair down so I can reach things on the floor. First person I approached for a trade, she did like bath bombs and like scented stuff, but she had these really cool things I'd never seen before. So they're car air fresheners from your rear view mirror. And we can have those here in Ontario. And she had one that was Garfield, and I love Garfield. And it says, "Let me pour you a glass of Get Over It. Oh, and here's a straw so you can suck it up." I traded that for my last sitting bee. She came over and she was like, "I love that." She goes, "Do you have any more of these?" I said, "The other two have sold." She goes, "Okay, no problem. All right, let's trade one for one." I said, "Okay, cool." I went back over to her because she had another one that I really wanted. It wasn't something I was like really leaning towards, I really wanted, but I offered her one of my fat ass frogs. "Is there anybody in your house that loves frogs? Like, look how cute and fat," right? And she goes, "No, not really. I would love another bee." So I was looking around her booth and stuff. She goes, "You know what? Actually, let me take the frog. Take another one of the car freshies," right? And I said, "Okay, all right, thank you." She goes, "I'll find somebody to give it to. It is cute, or maybe cute for myself." And then so I took this one from her. It's like a little penguin, a scarf, and this one is scented like white peach and citrus. It smells really nice. I like this one. So that was a trade for a sitting bee and a fat ass frog. Earlier in the day, a Sunday morning, I went over and I was like, "Oh my god, your stuff is so cute." So her name is Karen Elizabeth Fine Arts, but oh my god, she makes the cutest watercolor art, right? And she had them on different products around her booth. So she had canvas bags, she had other things, and something of course that caught my eye was this. It's a cow trucker hat. Isn't it cute? I bought this. It was $15 and I paid cash for it. And then I thought, you know what? Because hats get gross and they're hard to wash and stuff, I went back and I got a second one. So I paid $30 for these two, so $15 each, but I don't mind because I love cows and they're just so cute. And then I went over to this artwork lady again, and I had said, "Would you be interested in a trade at all? Because there's a few more items here that I would really love to get from you. But do you want to do a trade?" And she goes, "Oh, sure, let me see what you have." So she came over, she goes, "Oh my god, the little chickens." She goes, "My nieces just got chickens on their hobby farm, so there's 4 little girls, so I'll take 4 chickens." And I was like, "Okay, great." She took 4 chickens. I said I sell them for $10 each. I went back over to her booth, and she had said, "Well, did you see my greeting cards?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I don't really do greeting cards at Christmas. We just don't in our family." I said, "But you know what? I'm gonna take these from you. All these 4. We'll do 4 for 4, and I'm gonna frame these for my office. I gotta order some gold frames." So here's one cow. Here's the second cow. I think this is the same cow that is on my hats. And I thought, you know what? This one's really pretty. I know it's not an animal, but I could frame that and it would look really nice in here. And then this one has some matching pinks to the new pinks in my wall. I got this one as well. 4 cards for 4 chickens, I think is pretty good. And as I was trading with this fine art lady, her vendor neighbor was like, "I see you're offering trades. There's something on your table I really want. Would you be interested in a trade with me?" And I had said, "Well, come over and show me what you want at my booth," right? And then I can kind of have an idea, right? So she came over. She really wanted my double pom-pom beanie, and it was gray with like citrus colors. I don't remember what the coordinating yarn was, like the variegated from Michael's. And I don't have pictures of them, so you can picture it. It was nice. It was pretty. And she goes, "Do you want to trade a hat for a hat?" And I said, "Well, your hats are worth $30, and this one I'm selling for $15. I said, "Well, what about your sister that's with you? Does she want anything?" And she's like, "My sister will definitely want one of those little chickens." So her sister came over. I said, "Grab 2 chickens." I said, "I have so many." And she said, "You grabbed 2 chickens," and the lady got her beanie. So that was like a $35 trade. And they were selling these hats for $30. And I had such a hard time deciding because, you know, I mean, it was at the end of the day and I wanted to decide quickly so they could pack up. But I ended up getting this. And I thought, you know, for just around the house. It's a hat and it says, "A ray of sunshine." And it's a Care Bear. So I thought, you know what? That's cute. Just for around the house in the summer or in the winter. I don't care. It's cute. It's fun. And, you know, I love trades. Got a 3rd hat. And as I mentioned before, all the other vendors were up there in age. Then there was this one vendor. She was so cute. And her name is Mimi. And she makes wreaths and, you know, Christmas decor items. She was like, "You know, I'm 86. And I was like, "Good for you. And you're still doing this?" She goes, "Well, my family helps out quite a bit. Because, you know, it's really tiring doing these things. Do you find that too?" And I said, "Yeah, I do, but I can't imagine doing it at my 80s." So at the end of the day, on Sunday, her daughter comes over and she goes, my mom, Mimi, said you might be willing to do a trade with me for one of your beanies that I've been eyeing up and is still there. And it was the pink and white one that's on your mannequin. I said, yeah, perfect. Okay. Yeah, no problem. Come over and take that. And she goes, would you want a wreath? She goes, we also have some like Christmas decor pieces. My mom has an obsession with sleighs. And I was like, I can see that on the table over there. And then I had said, well, if you have anything that's like gold. She goes, oh yeah, we have lots of gold sleighs. So she pulled out all the gold sleighs and there's probably like 6 or 8 I could choose from. And I ended up going with this little cutie pie. He's just so cute. Look at him. He's a little bear and like some faux snow. He's just so cute in a sleigh. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take that. And she goes, oh, can I give you any extra money for the beanie? We were selling this for 10. I was like, you're only selling this for 10? And I was like, no, please take the beanie. I said, let's just call it an even trade. So I don't know if I'm really going to keep it for myself because I am doing a Christmas setup. So like if he does fit well on my little Christmas display in the living room, I will keep him. But if he doesn't, he's going to go as a gift to someone. I thought he was just so cute and adorable. And she had like other things I could choose from. There was like a polar bear, there was a moose, there was, you know, a few other animals, but this little guy drew my eye. As I mentioned, over the weekend, I took a big bag of yarn to, you know, just work on things while I was there. And I ended up using quite a bit of it. So everything that I did end up making while I was sitting there, I will put pictures inlaid in the screen here so you can see them all. I don't have pictures of 2 of them, but let me just show them to you. The first one is a hat for me. I got this in a Facebook Marketplace haul, and I love the colors. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make a hat for myself, and that was my plan. So I took along the yarn to work with, and this is it's a Premier Yarns Mega Brushed Chunky in the color Twilight. And I just love these colors. So I had 2 skeins in that Facebook Marketplace haul. So I sold that full skein, and then this one didn't take a full skein, I have a little bit left. And then halfway down to the city on Friday, had a revelation. I was like, oh crap, I forgot to bring, same thing I always forget to bring, because I keep it in the living room and it's not in my office when I'm packing my stuff up, that's why. I forgot to bring black yarn to embroider like eyes and like whiskers on mini kitties, you know, if I wanted to. I got down to the city probably like, you know, 2 hours before I needed to be, but I wanted to give myself extra time because of the snowstorm, right? So I was like, you know what, Michael's has a nice bathroom and I had to pee. So I was like, I'm just gonna go into Michael's. And they had the 40% off one item. So I got this for 40% off, and then I used my incognito mode on my iPhone to get another 40% off coupon. Thinking ahead. I got Demi Pearl in the color Tawny Olive, which makes no sense because it's a mustard color. It's a nice color. I'm using this for a specific project, but I'll tell you about that soon, not in this video. So we got those 2 on Friday. And then as you can see in the inlay here, I used up a skein, like it was a partial skein that I took with me. It was full skein originally, but it was like, you know, partial and floppy when I put it in my bag. And I made some items out of mini succulents. I believe the caterpillar ended up selling over the weekend. I don't remember. And I finished, you know, half a mini kitty. And you can see in the inlay here, there's that purple speckle yarn that looks just like this. And this is yarn from the dollar store. I had got it on a Facebook Marketplace haul. I ended up using a smaller hook with it because it is quite thin compared to Bernat blanket. So you can see it's pretty thin. And the plushies turned out really small. A little purple kitty. I made it look like it had gray pants because I ran out of the purple yarn. Because I had made a frog and I had made 2 rubber ducks with it. The little girl was watching me make it. She goes, what are you going to do now? And I said, you know what? I'm going to take apart 2 rows, like frog 2 rows, and I can make him look like he's wearing pants. And she goes, oh, and then can I buy it from you? So that was one of the $5 mini kitties that had sold. I said, yeah, absolutely. And I said, do you want the tail to be gray or do you want the tail to be purple? Because there's enough purple for a tail. She goes, purple, because then it looks like he's wearing pants, so even more. And I was like, yeah, true. Okay. So did that for her. So that was really fun that she seen me making it and wanted to buy it right away. I've never actually had that happen at a show, but I don't usually work on amigurumi at shows. You know, when it's something simple like a mini kitty or like Mum Stitchetti little mini frogs, I have those memorized. And then I had taken a skein of Loops and Threads Charisma with me. I don't remember what the color's called. And I paired it with Gray Softy Chunky and made this hat. I didn't take any extra pom-poms, but like pom-poms on just because I didn't know if I was going to finish any hats or not. So I just ended up finishing this one and then the one on my head for me. Gotta put pom-poms on that and take it to my event on December 11th. That's the one from this past Thursday, got postponed to December 11th. So everything you see inlaid there was what I finished while I was sitting at the market. And then I also made a gray mini kitty for the booth neighbors behind me. They were really sweet. They told me about their cats and like how both their cats are gray. And it's hard to tell them apart sometimes, but they have different color collars and like their personalities are different. And I had gray yarn with me and I made them a mini kitty out of that. And then in exchange, they gave me something. They gave me a trinket tray. So it's just like a little dish, and they had given me one. You can either have this one or like any of the other colors that you want. And I said, honestly, this color right here matches my kitchen almost perfectly. Look at the intricacy on this. Like these are handmade, they're pottery. And I was like, oh wow, I've never seen pottery like that before, like with the designs, like handmade. Like I've seen like smooth bowls and, you know, like little dip bowls and stuff, but I've never seen anything like this. So I was like, oh, that's really pretty. I guess one thing that you didn't see in the inlay of the things I finished was this cowl, because I didn't end up taking off the ends because, you know, I was gonna do that when I got home. So it's just a nice cowl. Of course it's for a skinny person, but that's okay. They can wrap it around twice, or a child. This will go towards my charity initiative for the year. I wanted to take the Easter egg yarn because I still have so much of it. And then I did double strand it, as I usually do for the cowls, with some worsted weight yarn. So that worked out nice. I was able to use up those. I'm not sure how many skeins in total I did end up using because I never added up. But I'm gonna put that number right here so I can document it on my calendar. And then as I was trading with the lady for the candles, well, the one candle for the one turtle, I was smelling all her candles. Oh, they smell delicious. So here, have a sniff. I know, isn't it nice? This is spiced pumpkin pie, and it's pumpkin puree, cinnamon, clove, ginger, and vanilla sugar. And then the next one, I wasn't sure if I'd like it or not, but after reading like the scent notes in it, I liked it. So give it a smell. This one's called Christmas Morning, and that is apple, berries, cranberries, sage leaf, and clove. So the one I originally had traded for was a pumpkin pie. So I ended up getting 2 pumpkin pies, 1 Christmas morning, and 1 of this one. Can you guess the scent? I know it's nice. This is sweet apple cider. Ooh, my favorite. She only had 1 left. Fresh apple, cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, baked apple, vanilla, and sugar. Then after the show on Saturday night, before going to the disgusting Airbnb, my neighbor, Larry's girlfriend, her name is Kathy, or as he knows her as Kitty Cat, as I mentioned before in other videos. She had put on Facebook, she goes, oh man, I wish the roads weren't so bad. I could go to Michael's and get, you know, the varnish for my paintings. So I messaged her, I was like, are you forgetting that I'm stuck in the city for the weekend and I could go to Michael's for you? She's like, oh my God, you could? And I was like, girl, please. I was like, I'm probably gonna go there anyway. So she's like, do you mind picking up those things for me? They're buy 2, get 3 for free, or whatever it was. Maybe it was buy 3, get 2 free. I don't know. She sent me like the screenshot of her cart. So I had to ask the employee. I was like, I don't want to look around for an hour. I'm shopping for a friend. I don't know where these things are. So she pointed me right to them, or took me to the aisle. And it was gloss varnish and satin varnish. And then she also wanted a bottle of, it's like a paint, but oh my God, the bottle's like this big. It's smaller than freaking nail polish. And it was $15.99. It's one of the ones she got for free, but like, oh my God. Was really frustrating, and I had seen some people talk about this on Facebook, and it's true. I can tell you this right now. Michael's, what they have been doing is, you know, online, they say, oh, this item is regular $45.98, because I seen on screenshot that my neighbor sent me. Regular $45.98, and it's now this price with that sale, blah, blah, blah. And then I get into the store, and the price on the sticker, like the permanent sticker barcode thingy on the store, was $35.99. I'm like, you freaking wieners. So they're jacking up the prices online to make you think it's a better deal. Is that a piss off? Oh my God. That drives me crazy when big box stores do that. Small businesses don't do that. And then I told my husband my plans. I was like, I'm gonna go to Michael's, like, you know, after the event tonight just to walk around, and I want to get this stuff for Kathy and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, okay, do you need me to send you any of the coupons from like my phone? Because, you know, it was the barcode coupons where you need like a new barcode every time you want to use a coupon. So I was like, yeah, send me your phone. I said 2 of them is good. And he goes, oh, I'll get my coworker to do it too, he offered. I said, okay. So they gave me 4 coupons, and I ended up getting this Berry Mystical yarn. I do have half a skein up there, but the lady who bought the full Berry Mystical, this one yarn, at the Stratford market wants me to make like a collar for her. So I just want to freehand something like that. So I got that skein while it was there. I didn't know they sold the Mystical in Michael's. It was nice that they had this, so I didn't have to order it online and pay for shipping. And then I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get this because I don't want to pay for shipping online, and I can make more chickens, and I don't have this color for chickens. This is the color Ivory Tweed. And then for Christmas, my little niece, I didn't use a coupon on this one because it's only $6.99. My little niece wanted a cat ear beanie because she seen me talking about my Instagram stories or something, or she seen it on her mom's phone, and of course she wants a color pink. And I didn't have a nice pink like this for cat ear beanies, so this is fuchsia pink. So this is a solid color. Let's see if I can throw it up there again. I don't know if I can. Oh, wow. And then with my 2 40% off coupons that were remaining from Steve's coworker, I got more demi pearl, and this is the color Navajo Bay, I want to say is how you pronounce it. I have the demi pearl for a specific reason, but I'm not going to show that to you because I'm excited about it and I want to finish the project and then show them to you on a different video. And then I got Purple Haze. To me, it's not very purple. I guess in the store it looked more dark blue, but now that I'm in like the sunlight in my office, it does look more purple. And then I ran out of coupons, but I really wanted this color because I hadn't seen it before. And they had it in person, so it was Peach Cobbler. So I paid full price for this one, Peach Cobbler. I just thought it was a pretty color and I wanted to give it a try. I don't really know what I'm going to use it for yet. I just like the color and it's one of the softer ones, so I figured why not. I think that's everything I have to show you from the weekend. So let's talk numbers because I forgot to do that for the last market recap I did for the sweater market. So let's talk numbers before I forget. And I did total things up last night. So my total sales were $875. That was amazing. I really wanted to crack 1,000, and as you've seen, I was pretty close, but that's fine. I mean, I'm happy with it. And the booth fee was $275 for this 3-day event. And Steve helped me pay for half of it just because of budget for that week. And he said, you know, keep the money, put it towards the doggy daycare for the weekend. Doggy daycare is $200. Well, $209. As I mentioned, the second disgusting Airbnb, that was fully refunded. I did not pay anything for that in the end. But the first night, the nice one, I paid $87. And that was definitely worth $87. I would have paid $150 for that one because it was pretty nice. Like, it was older, but it was nice. There was no centipedes. And there was no fire hazards. Oh my god. And then before we started our big adventure on Friday, the driving and stuff through the storm, I filled up on fuel in the car, and that was $54. Unfortunately, all my expenses for this weekend were $625. So my profit is $250 minus, you know, material costs and minus, you know, the things that I ended up purchasing, which was basically just food through the weekend. So I think throughout the weekend I spent about $50 on food, so it wasn't a whole lot. You know, I had, you know, kind of taken some snacks with me. Like I took rice cakes, rice crackers, you know, stuff that I knew I was going to eat throughout the weekend that was easy to eat while sitting at the venue. Muffins, stuff like that. So let's say in the end, because I spent $50-ish on food, it was $200 in profit. You know, that does not include material costs and stuff like that, but I still think it was worth it, and it was nice to move a lot of my plushies, and as you know, my favorite part is seeing the joy that crochet spreads. As I said, I think that's everything. I'm not going to show you what stock is left. I know I could have done it that way instead of talking through my sales. I could have showed you what was left, but I didn't want to do it that way, so I didn't. But I ended up leaving on Friday with 3 of my big bags full of plushies, as you've seen everything I showed you. And then I came home with 1.25 bags of plushies, so that was pretty good. The second bag, the 0.25 bag, has my beanies in it, a mannequin head, which is Sandra, and like my $5 items, mainly fidget worms. I think there's like 2 that aren't fidget worms. Like my little bags of things. So I had the fat ass frogs in one, and then turtles in another bag, and that's in that bag. And then in my larger bag that I came home with, like stuff full, that was like my one-off items. There were a few things I really was hoping would sell, one being the baby dragon that we talked about that I will not lower the price on. Some people did pick it up and they're like, oh, he's cute, should we get this one or that one? And they end up with something else. I'm like, oh, why? Like, I think he's cute. I mean, I'm not lowering the price on him. He's the one I won't. I only sold 1 scrappy turtle. A lot of people like the turtles, but you know, they wanted something that was a bit of a lower cost, so they were buying gifts, which is understandable. So I only sold 1 scrappy turtle out of the 6, but that's okay. They give them for gifts, or I'm going to put them like on my website and like Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that. So we'll see if they sell there. But I'm pleased with everything. Like, I moved quite a bit off my booth. I guess I still haven't showed you the before and after. So here's the before. I'm going to lay it over the screen, but so you'll hear me talking still. So here's the before of everything. And I did like a little video earlier that you would have seen in this video. And I really liked the way it looked with the 8-foot table. And then I was able to have my clothing rack right next to me and stuff. And it worked out great. And then here is the after. I did a little video. I'll put that next, but let me talk over like the photo here. So you can see, like, to me, it didn't seem like a whole lot of a difference because I was restocking things throughout the weekend. So like, you know, I was restocking the chickens. When one of the little $10 chickens sold of a certain color yarn, I would restock it. Same with like, you know, the possums and the fat ass frogs and like the little turtles. At the end of the day, or sorry, I guess on Sunday morning, I put out all the turtles I had under the table, like from Saturday, because they would all fit now. So that worked out nicely. So I was restocking things, but there is definitely a difference between, you know, the before and after. But let me put the video next of the aftermath of, you know, before packing up. All in all, it was a great weekend. It was my first 3-day market with the plushies. I look forward to December 11th for the small town one that was postponed, and I think it'll be good. So I'm excited for that. And if there is a good Saturday, like weather-wise in December, I will go to the farmer's market and bear the cold for one day. You know, I'll wear 10,000 layers and, you know, just stand there and freeze. But what can you do? That's just the way it is when it's outdoors in Canada. So if there's a good weather day on a Saturday, I will do that so I can move a lot of my product. If there isn't, there isn't, and I'm having these sit here. And I do plan on doing another charity initiative soon. Don't really have plans for it yet, but, you know, I have some ideas in my head. So we will see how that goes. But thank you so much for watching my video. I know it was a long one, but, you know, it's a 3-day market, so it had to be a long one. Thank you for coming along. I appreciate you. Please remember that you are strong, you are beautiful, you are loved, and the world appreciates having you here. I will see you next Sunday.